let's talk. So this won't be your traditional Impressionist Gamer episode because I mostly prioritize in talking about games. However, I feel like I have in the past briefly mentioned that I might want to dabble in talking about movies. Um, However, I feel like that would have been a little harder to make as a Impressionist Gamer video. But it's still something that I want to talk about. At the time of making this video, actually, this is the Oscar ceremony this year. I want Poor Things to win Best Picture, and that's the end of that video. However, what I thought about recently is film festival movies, and then there's numerous film festivals across the state or even countries as far as I'm concerned. There's your big fancy film festivals like the Sundance, which means if your film goes there, that means there's a pretty good chance you have a solid film that's most likely going to be released in theaters. However, I realize a lot of people don't specifically make videos on the Phoenix Film Festival, which in Arizona, that's basically the film festival to go to. So big, in fact, March 23rd to April 2nd, that's literally 2 weekends, which that's a bit excessive, and especially when you look through this booklet, there is quite a handful of movies and short films to go through. So, yeah. What made me even more motivated to talk about this one is, as opposed to all the years of me going to film festivals, they can be a real roller coaster in terms of the quality you get. However, 2023 Phoenix Film Festival might be the best film festival I've ever attended to. Almost every single feature film I've seen has been phenomenal. The short film categories, they're fine. There might be like one I walk away with that I just absolutely love. Fortunately, I do have my original film festival pass handy with all the tickets of films I went to see last year, so I can easily refresh my memory on all the films I watched, both the good and the bad. And I think it would be a nice change of pace from my traditional videos, and hopefully help fill the void, because everything is happening in March right now. On top of work, I just went to ZapCon a few days ago. I Game On Expo, another film festival. Civil War is gonna be a movie that pisses people off, and I'm here for it because I just watched Men, which oh boy. And bear with me, I am going off script on this, so there might be a lot of funky editing. I normally don't do this, but I feel like it would be better to just talk about something that comes across in my head. This is also the first festival I went to where I attended opening night, which is a separate purchase you have to do unless you have like the highest tier of the film festival pass. And basically they give you this fancy pavilion of like, hey, here's some free food and drinks, everyone dresses fancy, and you go to a fancy movie theater. Here in Arizona, with the Harkins Theater, that's kind of like our Arizona brand chain, I guess that's the way to put it. We have a thing called the Cine Capri, and it's basically our version of the premium large screen formats. For all the sound enthusiasts out there, they do have Dolby Atmos, so with some action films, that is a must go to for that. And to make it a little extra fancy, the whole theater at the Cine Capri is covered in golden drapes. So they like close the curtain and then they open it up to reveal, oh, you're watching an epic movie, which is kind of cool. This is a nice little touch. So serving as an opening film, Somewhere in Queens, starring Ray Romano. I'll be honest, I've never heard of Ray Romano until now. I think that's aging a lot of people saying that right now. But this one, I don't have a lot to say about this film other than this is a pretty decent film. It's kind of like a comedy drama ish. Ray Romano himself actually directed this one. Lives a simple life in Queens, New York, with his wife. Their shy but talented son Sticks. That's one of my favorite parts. Their son name is Sticks. I don't think I've ever watched a movie, or I don't think I know anyone in existence. I need to know who names their son Sticks. Like, I have to know. Yeah, so I'm remembering a little bit about this film. Basically, Ray Romano's character works in this construction business company that he works for. And their son, Sticks, which, clever original name, by the way, happens to be really good at basketball and has been given opportunities to go to college. So his father's like, oh, like, yeah, like, do that. Like, don't follow my path of this whole construction business. Like, you have a better future than I do. Just go for it. To be fair, I don't remember a ton out of the movie other than the fact that I just remember enjoying it. I think this is a very well-made drama. Nothing too crazy, but it's nothing pathetic either. So I was like, yeah, I was feeling pretty good watching the first film of opening night. What did I have for Friday? Yeah, so, like, obviously, Cine Capri, I did that. Alright, so the first one I did was Sci-Fi Shorts A. Another thing I should mention before I get off the tangent, there's also, like, 2 separate smaller film festival on top of the bigger film festival. So you have the International Horror and Sci-Fi Film Festival. I actually know some guys who run that side of the division, and they are legit cool dudes. Have gotten awesome recommendations from them. And then you also have the Arizona Student Film Festival. I haven't been able to go to those as of late, based on, like, scheduling conflict, but it's always nice to check out young filmmakers. They're mostly middle school and high schoolers, and even if they're not the greatest thing you'll see in the world, they have a lot more charm going for it than what you would get from a middle-aged man that makes all the wrong things about cinema. Like, that's there's something to take away from that. Horror shorts, sci-fi shorts A. This one's gonna be tough because there isn't a lot going for it except for one screenshot of the movie you did watch, which I will say Chimera is for sure, from my memory at least, a favorite of mine, because it's basically a dystopian future where everyone is addicted to, like, the VR reality, but you have to, like, inject, like, cartridges, which is kind of like drug based, and people would get addicted to it and start hallucinating and seeing things. And I just remember liking this one, being trippy. Dark Room, a father-daughter duo runs a photographic memory studio where their addictive and hopeless clients can relive their most fond memories. I remember this one being fine. Drifter, a metaphorical journey of human wandering. That one was actually an animated film, I believe, if I remember correctly. It is a visually stunning film. I think a lot of it went over my head. I don't remember much about the film other than the style of the animation. I believe it was all 2D animation as well. Sector 14, on the colony world of Prema, grizzled mercenary finally corners the saboteur he's been tracking. I think this is the film that would have been my favorite if it actually had substance to the film, because if I remember correctly, Sector 14 had this, like, really cool sci-fi futuristic production design. They got, like, laser guns pointing at each other, but it felt like a setup for a bigger film. Like, I could be mixing up memory, but I remember there was a film that felt more like a trailer and a tease than an actual legitimate short film, which I thought was kind of an odd choice. That's our time. Danny's therapist helps him realize that it's more important to focus on the time left and time you've already spent. I really don't remember this one. Appearing in a world full of darkness, girl fights to see the stars for the first time. I think I remember this one. I thought this was fine. If I remember correctly, I think the green screen was a little bit rough. Yeah. I thought this lineup that I saw was kind of just fine. One conversation I had with a friend was it's kind of hard to tell on like what to really expect with sci-fi shorts, because we talked about how the sci-fi category can be a lot broader in comparison to other genres like horror. It's kind of hard to set expectations on whether you expect something like The Matrix, where it's like, oh, it's cool, or action, or there's everyone trying to make movies like Blade Runner. Sometimes it's more like Blade Runner, sometimes it's more like, hey, we're just having fun making it. It's kind of up in the air on whether like you find something good out of it. I don't know if that's the right way of putting it, but it's all up to taste on what you want when you go see sci-fi, you know. That's like my only takeaway when it comes to the sci-fi genre in general. Most of it I just thought, like, you know, it was fine, but Chimera was the one where I was like, ooh, that's the one I like. Plus, I'm a VR enthusiast, so like I have the Valve Index. I played Half-Life Alyx. I'm pretty sure that was the one that gravitated to me the most. The next one might easily be one of my personal favorites. If I can find... Yes, okay. Mind, Body, Spirit. I remember seeing this title and thought, okay, what is this movie? Oh, it's labeled under horror. Oh, this is the screenshot they pick. Okay, I want to see that film. So this film is actually a found footage film. You know, films like Blair Witch Project and Cloverfield Chronicle was actually a pretty underrated gem that I really liked. So it's in that category where everything you see is, you know, shot on like a camera or phone, and you're viewing it as, oh, I'm founding like archival footage or whatever. So what's interesting about this one is that you have this girl walking into this very empty house that her grandmother left behind all by herself. And she wants to do like, hey, like, let me do yoga videos for YouTube and all the views and stuff like that. And then, you know, based on that screenshot alone, she found some really crazy shit in here. And the interesting part is that it does play around with the genre of the found footage, because a lot of times there will be a certain point where she's trying to capture footage by herself, but then as the film progresses and more spiritual contact comes into play, the spirit are now the cinematographer, and there are much longer takes. There'll be times where, oh, she's doing yoga, but the camera starts moving by itself because, like, oh, nobody else is at home. Who's spinning the camera around? Oh, there's what's that thing in the background that you see that she doesn't notice, but it's freaking you out. It is an expertly crafted indie horror film. That is easily one of the highlights. I believe during the Film Festival Awards, this won Best Horror Film, I believe. And it is something I strongly recommend. It's one of those films that really gets under your skin, and I don't think I've ever watched a horror film, at least in the film festival environment, where I have gotten chills multiple times with some of the eerie stuff that the film does. It is quite frightening, if I do say so myself. It is the one that I don't think will be leaving my mind anytime soon. Next one, I don't think I have a ton to say about live action shorts, especially after watching a movie like Mind, Body, and Spirit. Yeah, live action shorts, Save the Bees. I think that was a pretty fun, silly film. You ever get annoyed by a bee flying in your face and then you just, whack a girl in the face. Yeah, that's what the whole film is. That's what that one's about. I don't remember a lot of the other ones. Breakthrough, when Jane and Teddy's marital problems come to a sticking point, they have an unexpected breakthrough. I felt like it had the same, both that one and Save the Bees is kind of similar. It had the shock value going for it. Flat Earther, that was a pretty heavy topic film. Just talking about like, oh, do I believe in this or whatever. Kind of challenges people's beliefs in that one. I am doing a terrible job describing that film, but I think the title itself kind of says it all right there. Manager Position, I thought that was fine. I think it's a little metaphorical heavy. Fishers of Men, a Mormon missionary is shown the ropes by his well-meaning father who comes to terms with his own failures. I remember something like that. I got nothing to say about it. Belly Button, I thought that was fine. I didn't really get anything out of it. Julie, last name, two friends encounter a server who won't disclose her last name while discussing how the universe may have shifted. I remember watching it, and I was kind of like, yeah, I've had my fill. Save the Bees and Breakthrough was pretty fun to watch. Honestly, the first three was pretty good. It's just the last few was just kind of like, it just kind of winds down a bit. Which is kind of another tricky thing when you make short block categories, is you want to be able to pace your films throughout. Like, obviously you want to start strong and you want to end strong, and a lot of times, from my experience at least, sometimes they show the best way too soon, and then you just kind of wind down from there, and then at that point you're kind of like, okay, like I just want to leave. Live action shorts A, I remember it was doing all right. I don't think I've seen B though. I think I was mixing it up a lot this year. Normally I would go for the short blocks, mostly because, hey, you can find something good and quick, and if it's bad, you're not watching a 90-minute film that's bad. But there were, I think I was leaning more towards the feature films, which is more evident because I like movies, because, who doesn't like movies? Where would I find that one at? Oh, God. Yeah, showcase features. This is a showcase film. Lawrence, a socially inept, a 17-year-old cinemaphile, gets a job at the video store, kind of like Blockbuster, Hollywood Video, where he forms a complicated friendship with his older female manager. I really like this film. I think the hardest thing for me to, like, really, really like it is, I found the main kid, kind of hard to watch. Not because of his performance, but the character that he portrays. He is a narcissist. And there's a reason why he is the way he is after a certain point in the film. There's some heavy topic that kind of comes out of left field, and you're like, whoa, like, that got heavy. But, I remember, enjoying this one. Not a lot to say. Great cast, great characters. Yeah, I like this movie. I like this movie. Following up, is another excellent film. We got Arizona Features. So we actually have, so this is a whole page right here. This is all the Arizona Features, for 2023. So I watched the two from the bottom half. The one I followed up after I Like Movies was the last movie ever made. Now, the thing to know, when it comes to Arizona content, in my opinion, I can't speak on behalf of other film festival that features locally made films, but from my experience, Arizona, whether it's features or short films, they can be a real wild card. You can either find something amazing, or you can find some garbage, and I mean utter garbage. There's no in between when it comes to Arizona Features from my personal experience. Fortunately, these two films are actually very competently made film. Last movie ever made, Nathan Blackwell, he's I've actually seen some of his previous content. I think it was called Voyage Trekker, so it does have the cast from Voyage Trekkers, and it tells this great story about, oh, like, we're in this like sci-fi artificial AI world, and it's just gonna end. So like, oh, it's a scientific experiment of what do we do in our final days? And they're like, let's make the movie, let's make a sci-fi Star Trek like movie, and it is very heartfelt. There's some great comedy in it. It's well paced. You just gotta watch this movie. I really like this one. Nathan Blackwell, you fucking rock. Now, to cap off the end of the day, horror shorts A. This right here proved that after all the movies I watched today, including this horror short block, so I was like, all right, this is all quality content. Because it started off with gnomes. All I have to say, it features gnomes. You guys should watch it. It is nasty, brutally gory. It is unlike anything I've seen before. All just for like a simple gag. And I was like, you got everyone's reaction out of that theater, including myself. Like, alright, that was amazing. Welcome to Candies, that was another really fun one. It was kind of like, what do I call it? Like a romantic horror. Like, they kind of love each other, but they're also kind of brutally murdering each other at the same time. Something weird like that. Here to Stay, Jude may not be as alone as he thinks, and sometimes horrible mistakes have a way of following you. I do not remember this film at all. A Con Moon, that's a... I remember liking this one. I don't know how to describe it exactly, but I remember it being a weirdly unique film. That's one. I don't have much to say. I wish I had better memory of that movie. The Pragmatics are moving to a new neighborhood, but only if the situation's just right. Yeah, I think it was kind of like a weird commercial style short film where it's like, oh, I'm trying to move to a home, and then like everything goes wrong. Moonlight Sonata, it's the classic song. Reluctant Young Woman. I don't remember much from this movie. I only remember this movie because of Moonlight Sonata, and I remember one of the actors who is in another Arizona feature film I will talk about shortly. I just remember just asking him, like, hey, did you play Spider-Man Web of Shadows? Because that's the only way I associate that song with, is Spider-Man Web of Shadows. Just the way the game opens. And I was just like, that's all I thought about when I'm watching this movie. I wasn't even thinking about the movie itself. I just thought about, man, I really need to replay Web of Shadows. It's not a great game, but it's just so out there. And then it ends with Madame... Oh, God, I'm not going to butcher that. That one was fine. Apparently this won Best Horror Short, so I guess I'm very biased with this one, and the minority at least. I just thought it was too long. It felt a lot like a Japanese horror version of the movie called The Menu. Like, The Menu just came out, and I'm watching this short film, and I'm sitting here thinking, man, like, they literally just watched that movie and thought to make a short film about it. And then it kind of just had this lame-ass ending where it ends with multiple texts telling you what you just watched, describing the metaphors. And at that rate, it's kind of like, if you're just going to tell us, like, what the film is trying to tell you, I felt like that's the issue with this film. But I don't know. Like I said, I might be in the minority for it, because, this film won Best Horror Short when I felt like it would have been Gnomes, because, oh my god, gnomes are ripping guts out. And that is all the films I watched for Friday. I think that is already a fantastic start to a fantastic weekend of film festival films. Saturday. Okay, so I did watch Sci-Fi Shorts Beat. I just I need to remember. Um, wow. I will be honest with you. I don't remember any of these, to be honest. I remember watching short A. I guess I completely forgot about everything in short B. I think this was like the weaker half of the bunch. I might remember something about the screenshot, but I don't know. I think I only remember the first one, which it's kind of like, oh, the government is telling you there's uh post-apocalyptic nuclear fallout, but in reality there's nothing outside and it's perfectly fine or whatever because of government control, something like that. The rest is, I honestly forgot about it. I think if I'm starting to remember correctly, I want to say it was this one. That was kind of more of a experimental short film. I think it was like a girl who had like this um tripod attached to her waist. I think it was kind of like fisheye lens. Um, just like her exploring around. I thought that one was alright, but it's definitely a more experimental film compared to everything else in the sci-fi shorts category. Arizona Shorts A. Okay, this is my bread and butter as someone who lives in Arizona, and actually participated in some local filmmaking. Um, this should be interesting. I tried to remember which one I watched. Speechless. Um, when a mute teenager finds his world is changing, he overcomes his struggle and communicating through the power of music. I don't remember that one. Why do Navajo men have long hair? That's kind of like a documentary, which is interesting. We should be strangers. Young couple decides to break up during a road trip they had planned for their anniversary. I thought this one was fine. I didn't have much to say about it. To Air 404 is human. That is cool. It's just like a quirky dude in a robot suit trying to pass the test of, hey, I want to be human. But it's kind of like MVD office environment. It's pretty silly. I would definitely like to meet this dude. Jonathan Pauly, if I'm pronouncing your name right. I really like this film. I think that was fun. Eject. A paranormal podcaster investigates a haunted USB drive. Man, I am really bad at memory. I really need to do this fresh out of the next film festival so I can remember more clearly. Beyond Infertility, that film I did not like. It's just a one person or couple documentary of like, oh, like this person has this issue, but it just feels wrong. Like it almost feels like you're just exposing like a single person. This one just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I just didn't think it was the good type of documentary as opposed to Navajo Men, which I feel like that's a more broader topic of the Navajo culture itself. Whereas this one, it just didn't feel necessary. Love Note. Down on his luck, man finds love unexpectedly. I do not remember this film at all. Down the rabbit hole, the arts, the pandemic, and the Curiouser Immersive Project. That was another documentary. That's the thing that kind of surprised me with this one. Half of these, yeah, is it half? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, almost half of these are documentaries, and I thought it was kind of weird to end it off with a documentary. I thought this one was kind of fine, although it was one of the longer shorts to end off with. This one was fine. There wasn't anything I like hated, but yeah. Obviously the main highlight for me was To Air 404, Love No. Oh, that's the photo right there. Oh man, I vaguely remember this one. I think this one might have been enjoyable at least. But the rest was just kind of like, yeah, did not like this one. That is not a recommend for me. In fact, like now that I'm realizing it, I don't think I ever got around to watching Arizona Shorts B, which I felt like I should have because out of remote control, that screenshot kind of tells me I want to see that movie, because that kind of says it all right there. Ooh, you can you can live forever. Okay, I completely forgot about this movie. Okay, yeah, that's a community spotlight feature. The main reason I went to see this movie immediately jumps out in the synopsis right here. When lesbian teen Jamie, I think that's the name, is sent to live in a Jehovah's Witness community, she falls hard for a devout witness girl, and the two embark on an intense affair with consequences that will reshape the rest of their lives. Yeah, the reason I want to watch this movie was, to be blunt here, I've actually been raised as part of the Jehovah Witness community. I wouldn't say I was heavily raised in Jehovah Witnesses as opposed to other people, because I can tell you right now, I am not a Bible expert. However, there was a certain point in my life, kind of around like in high school, where I started to notice their practices had stuff that I strongly disagree with. With this movie in particular, they are anti-LGBTQT, and I have met people in my life who does fit in that category, so I automatically have a disconnect with that community. I don't remember a ton about the film itself, but I do commend the filmmaker for being bold and straight to the point on tackling a film like this. I don't think there's ever been a feature drama that specifically targets the JW organization, because it deals with people. If you, let's say, fall in love with a girl and you don't revert back to the straight or correct way, you can possibly be disfellowshipped, and everyone, including your parents, would like not see you ever again or bother with you. And there's a lot of conflicts between the two main characters who do fall in love with each other. One is not really into the organization, but the other is so hardcore JW. And it kind of makes this film an emotional roller coaster throughout, especially as someone like myself who has been part of JW to some extent. And that's all I have to say. Like, it's bold for them to make a film like that, and I feel like if people are struggling in any of these categories to some extent, it's a film I can easily recommend to some extent. It is not a happy film, though. That's the only thing I would have to point out. So going back to Arizona feature film, the next one I caught is Forever Home. I'm actually familiar with a handful of these people that worked on this film, so I could be very biased on this one. You know, I feel like for the most part it's pretty straightforward. A new haunted comedy about a young couple who unwittingly spends all their money on a new home to discover a terrible secret that puts not only their lives but their afterlives at risk. The best way for me to describe this film, think Beetlejuice, but without the Halloween-esque theme going for it, or without the Tim Burton vibe, I would say. I just found this to be, pretty fun film. It's got some silly moments, got some heartfelt moments. Drew, my man, is awesome. Yeah, there's nothing ton for me to say about it. I will say, I believe this is the longest feature film I watched. It's almost 2 hours. That was surprisingly well paced for being a 2-hour movie. I will commend the film for that. Horror shorts B, going back to the horror category again. Okay, so I actually did catch all of the horror and sci-fi shorts. What was a little hard about the horror shorts was there was only 4 films, and it was 85 minutes long. So that meant each short film was at least 20 minutes long. I would say half of which is pretty quality. Like this one right here, this is actually an animated short film. Again, like a 20-minute animated horror short film. I remember that one being pretty fun. I'm not going to pronounce whatever that title is. Ask me a question in a dystopian world ruled by social media network. Two users go on trial for breaking the socials guideline. I do not remember that film. Oh, I remember a little bit about Black Dragons, that Vietnam War set psychological horror fable inspired by a real life My Lai massacre. Um, I thought that was alright. Scratch, that was a pretty fun film in my opinion. This was the last film I believe it ended off with, so this one might be a little out of order, but it's kind of like a werewolf movie, father and son thing. I thought the sound design was kind of blew me away for a bit, and it has a nice little twist at the end. So I thought, pretty solid. Not as strong as Horror Shorts A, but there's some quality content to be found here. Okay, so this is Sunday now. There's a handful of features. I think I was mostly watching features on Sunday, and this is like all the downer stuff. This is like the one day where it's like, alright, we already had 2 consecutive days of quality content. The tables had to be turned at some point, unfortunately, which is basically the entirety of my Sunday. Harem Complex. It is a love story that revolves around growing complexity of couples' relationship. High school sweethearts Jamie and Kyra, oh god, I do not know how to pronounce these names, seem just fine. That is, until an old flame introduced them to polyamory. Can free love cure the quiet discontent in their relationship, or will it pull them apart? I will say, I've never been in a relationship myself, so I don't have a ton to say in regards to polyamory, other than that can be a very complicated topic to get into, depending on the person that is. With the film itself, I would say it's a little bit of a mix of art house and experimental filmmaking, because the whole thing was actually shot on like 35mm film, I think, in black and white. There'll be scenes with that features a character who like suddenly turns into puppet for metaphorical reasons. I thought this was an interesting film. I can't necessarily say if I loved it or like it, but it was different. I will most certainly say that it is a very different movie, and I think the filmmaker, the director, Freedom Hopkins, I think like that's his first feature film ever. So credit where credit's due. And then I'm just gonna put these two right here because we got really some two stinkers over here. In a dark room. I remember this movie just being bad. I just slept through that one. Johnny Z, the same guys, I believe this is the same guys who made A Night of Something Strange. I have not seen that movie itself, but all I can show you is the poster, and that says it all right there. However, this is kind of like a zombie horror action film. Half human, half zombie, named Johnny. So kind of like Blade, I guess. And I will say this. I think they love The Walking Dead Season 2 because there's a whole lot of nothing that takes place in a farm for half the movie. It feels like an origin story. And I was just like, oh god, the action was bad. It was a massively disappointing film. For what would have been like, hey, let's have a silly, fun film, but it was just bleh. Like, I watched more of Johnny Z than I did of Dark Room. But Johnny Z, there was still some moments, you know? And Brooklyn 45, I will be honest, I don't even remember this movie, actually. Oh, it's a showcase film. It's a showcase for sci-fi and horror. 5 military veterans gather in the ornate parlor of Brooklyn brownstone. Best friends since childhood. Blah blah blah. Yeah, I completely forgot about this movie. This is one of those films that gave me a lot of I would say 12 Angry Men vibes, if that's the right comparison to make, because the entire film takes place in one room with a whole varied cast of characters. Um, I remember enjoying it a little more than all the other films I've watched. Although it's kind of mind blowing to me of everything I'm talking about right now, that is the one movie that completely wiped my memory away. And I don't know why. I will say, compared to the last two films I was talking about earlier, this is more worth your time than these two. I can guarantee that as a fact. Like I said, most of the stuff I watch would normally be the first weekend. The Phoenix Film Festival has now extended to 2 weekends, which I thought was kind of, whoa, that's pretty crazy. However, I was just going to end it there until I realized there were 2 other films that I gotta see. On the last day of the film festival, we got, I think it was competition film. Competition feature, Hundreds of Beefers. This film, just look at this screenshot. This is brilliant. This is an amazing movie. This might be one of the best films I've watched in any film festival. The best way that some people like to describe it is kind of like Looney Tunes. I've followed them on social media and see them repost people saying, "Hey, if we're not getting Coyote versus Acme, watch Hundreds of Beavers then." And I yes, absolutely watch this film. They make a lot of video game references where the guy kind of starts with nothing and has to build his way up. And I'm not exaggerating, for a film that's 110 minutes long. This movie is almost 2 hours long. I have never watched a comedy that has consistently made me laugh non-stop. That when the film got boring for a moment, I'm glad that it got boring so I can have a moment to breathe from the amount of laughing I was doing. And then it just ends with a bang. This was just an absolute blast. If anything, if any films I recommend to everyone, Hundreds of Beavers. Absolutely should watch it. Must watch. I think the director even won Best Director award at the film festival, which I think is well earned, just based on production design, everything, the way the film was shot, all the practical stunts, animation, whatever. Just watch it. And then normally I don't go to closing night films, which are, you know, the last film where everyone comes together. Oh, hey, still a Michael J. Fox movie. I meant to watch this movie, and I never did. I still haven't seen that movie, so I've heard good things about it. Sorry, I went on a tangent with that. However, surprisingly, Renfield was the closing night film, which I was like, alright, you're going out with a bang. Now, I will say this. I don't think Renfield is an amazing movie by any means, but in terms of film festival quality, this is quite an amazing experience to just end the film festival on. Because, I mean, come on. Nicolas Cage is Dracula in this movie. I will say the CGI is very, I don't know, man. But, the CGI is pretty bad, and the editing is a bit wonky. But if you're looking for a dumb, fun film, I don't think you can go wrong with Renfield. I've seen movies that are far worse than Renfield. I mean, like, I just told you I slept through A Dark, Dark Place because that's how bad that movie was. This will entertain you. And that's the all the films I've watched at the Phoenix Film Festival last year. And like I said, there are some quality films, especially Hundreds of Beavers. I cannot express how amazing that film is. If it is playing at a theater near you, or if it gets a physical streaming, like, I cannot express how amazing this film is. And of course, there are so many other feature films and short blocks I never got around to, like, Polite Society. I didn't even realize this movie was playing at the film festival, which kind of makes sense because it was playing on a Tuesday night, which is kind of an odd choice. I still haven't seen this movie, but I've heard good stuff about this one. But yeah, I thought, like I said earlier at the beginning of this video, I believe that the Phoenix Film Festival 2023 might have easily been one of the best film festivals I've been to, minus like a few bad short films, but all the good films I watch completely overshadowed the bad movies I watch, which the bad ones are just, they're mostly just forgettable. There are some times I watch a movie that is like bad, but this year, like, there wasn't a lot of bad movies, and honestly, the worst films I watched, I just ended up snoozing through it because, you know, like, whatever, I don't care, I'll just snooze through until the next one comes up. And I figured it would have been cool to be doing this right now because Film Festival 2024 is coming up, which I am most definitely looking forward to. But I also need to adjust my expectations because I feel like this year, Film Festival 2023, that's a new high bar to reach now. So I guess the worst you can expect is watching Tim Travers and the Time Traveler's Paradox, starring Felicia Day, Joel McHale, Danny Trejo. Okay, never mind. I'm actually looking forward to that movie.